You are now tuned in to the War Party Paranormal Radio Show, where we will be discussing actual audio and visual clips captured during the team's investigations. Hear firsthand eyewitness accounts from fellow team members and special guests. Now smash that like, subscribe, and follow button, and let's get ready to welcome team leader and your host, Eric Vanderlaan, and tech specialist and co-host, Mike Del Coro.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the War Party Paranormal Radio Show. I'm Eric Vanderlaan, your host of the show and team leader of War Party Paranormal Research. And I got my good buddy right over here.
What's up, guys? My name is Mike Del Coro. I am an investigator with War Party as well, and your co-host. And tonight we have an awesome show for you, and I'm going to let Eric tell you what we're getting into.
We got an amazing show. We have another guest from our Paraflix family. We have Nash Hoover from Chasing Legends. Amazing show. Already saw a couple episodes. He's in the cryptids. If you like that stuff, it's amazing. And actually the filming's really cool too. I do have an intro. You want to see it, Mike?
Oh yeah, let's see it.
Let's go. Bam.
That was quick.
I know.
It won't be easy to find.
Never are.
And if you do, you probably regret it.
Hear that?
Yes, I do. We're out here to follow evidence. We're out here to essentially find the truth. One way or another, whether it, no matter what it is.
I'm Nash Hoover. Since I was young, I've been fascinated by stories of mythological creatures and have dreamt of traveling the globe to find explanations for the unexplained.
I believe that these people saw something. My problem is, can I believe what they saw?
Together, my crew and I will investigate these cryptid legends and go beyond what we think we know. So you refer to it as a creature. Do you believe that it is a undiscovered species of something, or is it just a misidentified animal? We're not just chasing monsters. We're chasing legends.
Pretty cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very awesome. So without further ado, let's bring in our guest, Nash Hoover.
Hello.
Thank you
Welcome.
for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And
Yeah,
you're
man.
part of our Paraflix familia. So,
I am, yeah. It's been
I was
fun.
looking at your work, and the filming's amazing. So that's really good. I really
Thanks.
like that. And also the cryptids as well. Some of the stories. There was one that I haven't even heard. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself, like how you got started in the cryptids. Anything crazy happened to you when that got you into it, things like that.
Yeah, so I got into cryptids when I was really young, probably 7 or 8 years old. And this was probably 02, 03. And I got into it because I came across a book about Bigfoot in my elementary school library. And at the time, I was really into wildlife. I was watching a lot of Steve Irwin, Jeff Corwin, that sort of thing. So I had that interest in that, little bit of knowledge. And so when I came across this book, I was like, okay, so this is, an undisputed hominid and, allegedly reported in North America. This is interesting. So I kind of, dug deeper into it, and I came across Loch Ness, and then I came across UFOs. And then, right around then is kind of when paranormal TV started to get popular with, ghost hunters and ghost adventures, and shows like Destination Truth kind of coming out, which that was the show that really helped broaden my horizon since, it was a guy, traversing the world investigating it was a mix of ghosts and cryptids, but it was, the cryptid stuff really intrigued me because it really opened me up to what was out there. And it made me realize that Bigfoot wasn't a solitary creature, but a entirely global phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kept snowballing from there. It got to the point where I was checking out books from my library so frequently that my elementary school librarian just basically went around and found all the books, gathered them up, set them aside for me. She's like, "You're the only one that's even remotely interested in this." And then she even went as far as getting in new books to the school on the subject. And that was kind of how I was able to, this was, internet was, a thing, but it wasn't as big of a thing as it is now. So, books and libraries were still king. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. And then tail end of high school, I started getting interested in filmmaking and just kind of decided to kind of combine the passions. And
very cool.
Here we are.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
I'm real old. I got into it like by watching. Remember that show In Search of with Leonard Nimoy?
Yeah.
Like I think that's what made that like famous Bigfoot video like famous. Like In Search of, that was like what, like in the 80s or 70s or 80s, and I think that picture came out like
the Patterson
60s,
Gimlin. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I can totally relate because when I was younger, stuff like that, I was really into like UFOs and stuff, and did kind of the same thing at school. I was finding books on UFOs, extraterrestrials, things of that nature. And it's very neat, and I still kick around the idea, and I love talking to people that are into cryptids and stuff because I'm still very curious about a lot of that stuff. I don't have the time to dig into it as much as I do with a lot of the stuff that we're doing on the paranormal side. Even
ghosts take a lot of time, Nash.
Yeah, dude. Even though I do enjoy it, and I love asking people when we have on the show, like, what is like, after all the research and all the time that you spent into it, do you feel that it's really like more on the cryptozoology side, like it's something that we just haven't discovered yet that's still out there, or do you feel like it's more on the like the paranormal extraterrestrial side of things that like some people say, and I kind of feel like if there was something like, it's possibly another, ape or something that we haven't discovered, but there's a lot of theories out there, and I just kind of want to know yours.
Yeah, so it really depends. So I've changed my stance on things a few times kind of over my career in this, kind of as I've gathered new info and, so I research everything across the board, totally internationally. I'm not one thing specifically. I don't focus on, I'm not a Bigfoot guy. I'm not a lake monster guy. I'm not, I'm a cryptid researcher. And lately, last few years, I've kind of taken more of like a biologist approach to this, which has really kind of changed my entire approach.
That's like good Barbieri's approach as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely kind of changed how I view certain ones. There's definitely like categories to this where there's ones where like, yes, it's very possible that these are flesh and blood animals that either did exist and are still being talked about, or either, haven't been discovered at all. Or something I'm kind of getting into more lately are some of these cryptid reports extinct animals that, didn't actually go extinct, and people are just still seeing them, not sure what they are because they're not supposed to be there.
Right.
But then to kind of go along with your question, there's definitely ones that kind of have a more that 100% this thing does not exist in reality. It's fully folkloric. Doesn't, that's all it is. It's just a boogeyman story. So yeah, like I said, it really depends. It makes the the research that much more difficult because you really have to like sift through, because there's been several that, you know, we've wanted to look into, but then as we sat down and did the research, we're like, this thing doesn't, there's no way, we're not going to waste our time. Like there's nothing to find.
Right.
And that's kind of something for us. Like there has to be, because, you know, we always say we don't look for what it is or isn't, we look at what it could be.
Right.
So there has to be something for us to kind of track down, whether it's, you know, so say we're going after a Bigfoot sighting somewhere in the country.
Mm-hmm.
There either has to be known megafauna that could be misidentified, or there has to be a habitat large enough to sustain an unknown population of something. And that's
that are hard to find.
Yes. So I'm not going to go, you know, I'm not just going to go in some, you know, small wooded area and say, oh yeah, there's definitely Bigfoot here. It has to be, it has to check these boxes for me to even consider, you know,
that makes sense
going
too.
into these areas.
And then there's some people that have a theory that they think Bigfoot is extraterrestrial, that it moves in different dimensions and it goes through different portals. And actually, I heard that there's a portal up in the mountains of Georgia. I won't say her name, but there's some people that say that, like, they'll say like, well, how come we've never discovered a skeleton or anything like that? And they were like, that's because they can move through different portals and dimensions, and they're very elusive and things like that. But
I find that hard to believe for me.
I don't. I don't even entertain the woo stuff.
I know, right? Like,
and,
that's just like
coming from a paranormal investigator as well, you know. But I still feel that that's very hard to swallow.
Until I see a UFO landing and the door opening and a Sasquatch walking out, then I'll be a believer.
I mean, I do believe in extraterrestrials and things like that, but I think that's more of an answer to say, like, why haven't we found bones? You know, and like, oh, because they're mystical and
it's an easy answer to avoid.
Natalie says she had an experience that she categorized as interdimensional being. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I like I said, it's. I'm not saying it doesn't exist because I can't prove it, right? But I feel like it's hard for me to swallow. I had and so here's another question that I want to know is you research all different types of sightings and cryptids and things of that nature. What's one of the weirdest things that maybe, you know, like not like the mainstream kind of stuff, like, you know, a Chupacabra or a Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster or things that, like, you know, like household names, but like something that's come up and you're like, wow, this is really different.
So there's a few that I can think of. So there's a handful of these that, so me and my one of my research partners was kind of something that we just like didn't even like ever factor into anything. Then all of a sudden I was just like, well, these are like similarly reported and they're from different parts of the world. There's I know the names are escaping me. So in Belizean folklore, there is a creature called the Tata Duende, and it is described with having backwards feet. It's like a short little, like almost like elf person, and then it's described with having backwards feet. In Madagascar, there is a cryptid called the Paranoraml that is also described as being a short goblin-like creature with backwards feet. Obviously, these are, you know,
there's one in Ecuador too. Did you know that? I can't remember the name either.
Yeah, I have heard of that. But I think for me, one of the strangest is in the Amazon. There is a cryptid called the Mapangwari.
I'm sorry, but if I saw like a little like person, like a little like dwarf looking thing with backwards feet, like run by, I would probably, a little pee would come out. Sorry to interrupt you with that.
So in the Amazon, it seems like it's more kind of focused in Brazil, but I've come across similar stories in other Amazonian countries. In the Amazon, there's a cryptid called the Mapangwari, which kind of gets described as a Bigfoot, kind of gets described as sloth, but it's described as a giant furry creature, kind of what you'd think of a Bigfoot, with long claws on its hands and feet. It's got one eye in the center of its face, and its mouth is on its stomach.
Wow, that's
freaky.
pretty wild.
This is the the folkloric
That's like something out of the game Elden Ring I've been playing lately. Yeah, super crazy, man. Like, and the weird thing is, like, to me, like, how is all this stuff so similar in different countries where they didn't have communication back then? Like, so you go back to some of these cave drawings, some of the hieroglyphics and different things, and different cultures and all over the world, and yet they're depicting some of the very similar creatures. Like, we have the Native Americans here that do believe in Bigfoot, and they have their own name for it and the thing. And then you have like the Yeti, like in on the other side of the world, that's very similar. It's very weird, like, how are they, if they were to make these things up and it was legend, right? How would they
we could go on for hours about international Bigfoot.
Yeah, right. But it's just weird, like a lot of the cryptids. But
and the Bigfoot stuff for sure, because it's like almost every culture, ancient and current, has some sort of wild man story.
Yeah,
and it's all pretty similarly described, as you were saying. But there's even some weirder ones that I don't, the names escape me, just because once I came across them, I was just like, I'm not even going to bother with this. But the Philippines has a ton of just like wild ones. There's one that has like, what did we do? I think we came across this recently. It's like described as like basically like just a giant buff dude with a horse head is how this thing is described. And it
sounds sexy to me.
I think I'm pretty sure I made the same comment, because there's like there's like drawings and stuff of it, and I was like, damn, that's
almost like Romanesque type, like a myth. I don't know. Mike Agliano has a comment for that. I'm sure that'll be coming up soon.
But there's definitely some pretty wild ones.
The Jollibee. But so we need to get you down here to Florida. We got to find this skunk ape.
I'm down.
Yeah,
it's a loose skunk ape. We can go stay at the Bigfoot skunk ape headquarters.
Yep.
They have these cheeky huts in the back where you can camp there. Actually, have you ever heard of a dude named Bigfoot Stacy? He's from Outcast Paranormal.
It's Stacy's last name Brown? No.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. We were going to do an event with Dave Sheely. It was going to be like a skunk ape expedition / paranormal ghost hunting. There's like a building out there that's supposed to be haunted. We need to bring that back up. Whatever happened to that, Mike?
Right? I know. And man, that's right up my alley, dude. Getting out there and just creeping around through the woods and stuff. I love being out in the woods, and I used to hunt growing up.
Mike looks like the Sasquatch.
I could possibly be mistaken for a squatch sometimes.
Easily.
If I take my shirt off or something, yeah, it definitely could be mistaken. I was, that was one of the theories I had too, is like, they had like a lot of weird shit going on in Florida back in the early times, like when the settlers were coming in here, like right afterwards, they would bring all kinds of monkeys and different primates, and have there were zoos and all this. And I'm thinking, one of these hurricanes that blew through and knocked that shit down, and that primate got out into the wilderness and survived. And
that's actually that is actually a theory. Because I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Mayaka skunk ape photo. This was back in 2000, 2001. Yeah,
it looks
it looks really orangutan. Yeah, so that obviously there's all the people that say, oh, it's a hoax. This is just a stuffed whatever. And then there's the other side that say, well, this is probably an escaped, orang, whatever. The thing with skunk ape is that it would have to be multiple, because it's seen so spread out. It's seen basically from the Everglades all the way up to like Ocala National Forest and all of that. So this isn't just one animal migrating back and forth. This would have to be several. But who isn't to say that it isn't something that did escape, and then maybe there was a mating pair or whatnot that, and this is just many generations down.
Yep. And we do have a python epidemic after Hurricane Andrew. Out in like by Homestead, there was a place where they were breeding, and they had all these.
What did I read somewhere that there's like 90 some percent of native wildlife in the Everglades is gone.
There's some places where there used to be raccoons all the time. Now there's no raccoons.
Mm-hmm.
How wild is that? Like I remember being
like
a kid.
Basically, it's like all the small mammals and like ground nesting birds and stuff have just been
very
invasive.
We really effed up the Everglades, man. Just over the years, when they dropped the Melaleuca seeds to try to dry up the Everglades, and they dropped papers, tree seeds to try to dry it up. The government
they built the canals to flow out the water.
Up. Then they brought in these lily pads that were like native to Asia, and they overtook you ever see the Everglades and you see pictures of these big lily pads? They're not native.
Oh yeah, hardly anything there is native.
Yeah, hardly anything is native. It's all been brought in and just overtaken because there's so much vegetation and stuff that breaks down, and there's so much nutrients for all these things to just grow and
multiply.
And the weather is perfect for it, and you just have like the perfect mixture for life, and it just half the fish out there are not native, like they're catching a lot of snakeheads now all over.
A lot of snakeheads, a lot of plecos.
We got that red algae problem.
Yeah.
From time to time throughout the year.
I think since the 90s, there's been a handful of Nile crocodiles caught too in the Everglades.
There's been crocs. Then we have a lot of the saltwater crocs too. And gators don't freak me out. I grew up here, and I would see them all the time fishing or this, or when I go out hunting, and like they don't bother me.
Snakes.
I don't like snakes.
Touch them. I won't touch them.
But crocs, man, I stay away from those suckers, man.
I've yet to see an American crocodile in the wild. I've came too close to gators numerous times, but I've yet to see the American crocodile. Unfortunately.
Yeah,
they're starting to grow in population down here. Like now you do see them. There's one place where we had investigated, and it's right on Biscayne Bay, which leads out to Atlantic Ocean in Miami. And we were at a haunted, it was like an old mansion, and it was on the water. And we went all the way out to the edge, and there's a big ass American croc laying out there. That was the scariest thing I saw all night. It wasn't ghosts.
It's funny to me. It's funny to me how many people don't realize that we have crocs in the U.S.
Yeah.
Like everyone just thinks it's alligators, and I think everyone just thinks of here crocodiles, and they think of Australia or Africa.
Yeah, I don't think they're as aggressive as the Australian crocodile.
No.
Yeah, those are vicious.
And those are the salties put anything to shame.
Sure.
When I was in Australia for 7 months, working, I was a crew on boats for years, and I actually took a freighter from here to Australia. It was 35 days at sea at 10 knots. But when we got to Australia,
shoot off some Somalis.
No, not over there.
Somali pirates.
They'd have to do a lot of traveling for over there. But no, it was common that you would hear something on the news like that. Oh yeah, a couple taken down by crocodiles, like a canoeing, and like it was like always on the news. Like so like it was like almost like bi-weekly. You would hear it on the news that like somebody got taken.
Last week I saw on the news of an alligator out in the Everglades that pretty much had a python, not an alligator, a python that had pretty much had the whole head in his throat of a deer, a white-tailed deer. The whole head was like swallowed, and like the other half of the body was sticking out. It's just crazy.
It's wild. It's wild that those things will try to swallow.
Yeah, and how big their mouth can get, like how they can stretch open.
I always think back. There was a picture I found years ago. It was a python in the Everglades that attempted to swallow an alligator, and it just ripped out.
It died, yeah.
So they were both dead.
Yeah, I saw that. That reminds me of like that old drawing, like where that bird is trying to swallow a frog and he's like strangling him. I don't know. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen that. But yeah, no, that's crazy. Yeah, they ended up both dying, right? So, but wild stuff, man.
They got the squallies out in the Everglades. You ever heard of the squallies? Out west? Actually, it's east of Cypress National Park. Squallies, yeah. Brandy knows more about this. I think it's more of an urban legend, but it's like there was like a science experiment that went bad, and there's like these pig people that run out throughout the woods there. Call them squallies. People say it's a real thing. They say it's the real deal.
Just a whole tribe of Florida men.
Yeah, right.
Right.
You know, that's like what they got going on down in the Keys now, man. Like down in Key West, there's like this little island. And like a lot of the homeless people like took it over, and they have like, it's almost like a Walking Dead colony out there. They have like a governor that like put himself in charge, and like there's all these homeless people living on this island, and like they come into like town, they take like boats into town and stuff, and like you can't go out there, like they'll attack you and shit. Like it's all crazy.
Jeez.
Nash is like, I'm leaving Minnesota. I'm coming down to Florida.
He's like, yeah.
So we're at that halfway mark, right, Mike?
We are.
We got to pay some bills, Nash. We do got to pay bills.
Yeah, so we got to run a couple ads, and we'll be right back with you guys.
What is up, my paranormal peeps? You may be wondering why we're holding something like these in our hand, and my buddy's going to tell you all about it.
The reason that we have this paranormal equipment in our hand is because we're giving a big shout out to the Ghost Hunter store, one of our sponsors. They're your one-stop shop for everything paranormal.
That's right, and you may have seen some of these equipment on your favorite paranormal TV shows.
Exactly, especially the Haunted Files on Paraflix.
Mike's got that right.
All right, guys, so check them out, and if you use the code word Ghost Gone Wild,
not Girls Gone Wild,
Ghost Gone Wild, in your checkout, you'll get a discount on your purchase. Thank you, guys.
Peace. Hi, I'm Eric, and this is Mike from War Party Paranormal Radio Show and the Haunted Files on Paraflix. And Mike, we got something pretty cool, right?
Heck yeah. So, I want to talk about Haunted Happy Hour, spirit-infused coffee. They have many different flavors, all kinds of different stuff. They're great people. They have a podcast with great content, and they got an amazing product here. So, this one actually is Sweet Rum Bliss. And what's amazing about this, you order this product and you also get 1 month free subscription to Paraflix. So you can watch us.
Yeah, and you might be feeling dead inside, but get caffeinated with Haunted Happy Hour.
All right.
Are you ready to explore the unknown?
Eventually.
Brace yourself for a journey into the supernatural. Paraflix Paranormal Plus, your gateway to the paranormal, all-in-one streaming service. Dare to explore, dare to believe, dare to stream alone.
It does not want us here.
Sign up now and embark on a supernatural adventure like never before. Paraflix Paranormal Plus, the universal home of paranormal.
All right, and speaking about Paraflix, you can check out us on Paraflix, Eric and I, and Franny and some other folks.
We got something big this Friday.
Yeah, that's where
we got something coming big.
We got a show on Paraflix called The Haunted Files. You can also check out Nash on Paraflix.
Chasing Legends.
Jason Legends. Make sure you check him out. We got a new episode airing this Friday. Eric, tell us about it.
Just show it. I think the
you can tell us a little bit.
Video is gonna. Okay, so Rock Island Roadhouse, former YMCA in Illinois. We went there to investigate it, so we were very honored. Thank you, Lisa Dinar. She's the owner of the place. Super haunted. It has a lot of history going back to Prohibition and the mob. Actually, John Looney. Many people may not know of John Looney, but actually Al Capone was afraid of him. And Mike, I didn't tell you this, but over the weekend I watched this movie, The Road to Perdition.
Yes.
It won an Oscar, and it's about John Looney. He's not the main character, but
oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and actually, I'm not going to give it away, but some of the story is fictional, especially towards the end. But yeah, so yeah, that's what the episode's about, and we got a special surprise. We made Franny face her fear of clowns. We locked her in a clown room, a haunted clown room. So
not only is it just haunted, but there's also supposed to be the ghost of one of the mob henchmen down in the basement that resides down there. Yeah. And there's been a lot of reports of stuff, and so it makes it extra a little spooky.
And I think there's a little scene in that movie in that area. So
yeah. So I'm just gonna run this. It's only a minute, and then we'll get right back with you guys. The Rock Island Roadhouse, once a respectable YMCA, harbors a dark and chilling past beneath its outward charm.
This was originally built as a YMCA in 1912. 1912, the whole city was run by gangsters.
I hear voices, and I heard it like...
I don't like this at all. God. No, I don't like this. Guys, get me out of here. I don't like this. I don't like this setup. No, this. I don't like this.
I told you they're watching you. Right now, they're watching you. Matter of fact, they're probably behind you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. So it's this Friday, guys, 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Paraflix.
And actually, the Rock Island Roadhouse is having an event. So anyone that's living near Rock Island, they're having a paranormal event. You get to investigate, and they're going to be airing our episode. So
yeah,
go over there and have some fun.
So Nash, what do you think, man? With all your experience doing this, what can you say is something that you maybe can't prove yet, but you're like, I feel like this is more than likely a high possibility?
Well, there's a few.
Or have you found anything that is proven that you proved?
No. But yes, there's a few that I feel are more probable than not. Oh yeah, our last episode comes out Saturday.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to give that a shout out.
Yeah, do you know what time?
No.
Natalie.
She'll tell us.
Okay, perfect.
It's gonna be a great weekend of Paraflix.
That's right.
All right, we changed the subject.
Sorry about that.
Gotta make the boss happy. So yeah, there's a handful, 9 p.m. on Saturday. So there's a few that, and I'll talk more about it. I'll get more specific. All right.
Don't give away anything though.
Yes, there is a few that I believe the right evidence is just waiting to be found. I'm really big on, and this is a creature that we know did exist. It went extinct, not at all recently, in the last 100 years, and but I think that it's more than likely still around despite its extinct status, which is the thylacine, aka Tasmanian tiger.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which,
I've seen those old black and white like videos of them, like one of the last ones.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone that doesn't know, the Tasmanian tiger, and I have a skull here of one.
Oh, wow,
It'll
cool.
tear your ass apart.
Yeah, they're crazy looking. They do look like, or like nothing I've ever seen. They're like almost like a hyena with stripes. Like,
yeah, so
almost
they're
like rodent, almost like a rodent blend of.
It was
canine,
but it was a carnivorous marsupial essentially. So it's like a kangaroo. So it had it had a pouch, and it gave birth to live young, and had joeys and stuff in that. But it looked like a dog. Really long, slender body, wolf-like head. They could open their jaw to 80 degrees, like just super wide.
Nice.
Crazy, beautiful animal. And they ranged all the way from Papua New Guinea, mainland Australia, down to the island of Tasmania. They went extinct on mainland Australia and allegedly Papua New Guinea when Europeans came and introduced the dingoes, which outcompeted them for food. But the dingoes were never introduced in Tasmania, so they were able to thrive a lot longer. Up to the 1936 was when the last one allegedly died.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people say that they were probably on their way out anyways, because they were basically isolated to this one small island. There was a lot of health issues that were being found. They were a lot of inbreeding sort of thing. I don't know, but that's one that I think is probably still out there. I think I have a few contacts in Tasmania that give me updates periodically. Nothing super concrete's been found there, but there's a lot of pretty prominent people that claim to have seen them that would know what they are looking at.
Mm-hmm.
My money would be on New Guinea and Papua New Guinea, just because of the remoteness and how just unexplored that entire island is. And just
and that's what I was gonna say, is like the likelihood of finding something there would be probably pretty high, due to the fact that they still have like cannibalism. I don't know if people know this, but in Papua New Guinea they still have cannibalism.
Well, there's still a handful of tribes that practice cannibalism. It seems like it's more like a ceremonial, like when war happens, rather than like how they used to do it, where they would just
So like I was mentioning earlier, I was crew on boats, and when I was in Australia, I was on a sport fishing boat. We were black marlin fishing every day off the Great Barrier Reef, and we would spearfish during the day, and then in the afternoon we'd black marlin fish. But we had a buddy.
Not some woman with a bone in her hair chasing you.
No, not yet.
Okay.
But we had friends on another boat that went to Papua New Guinea, and they were anchoring out. They never went on shore. But they had to meet with the tribes, like a big sport fish boat, like modern sport fish boat, pulling up to like the beach, and they would come out and wade out in the water, and they would make offerings with them. They would be like, listen, we'll give you, here's a handful of t-shirts and and this stuff, and they trade. They give them stuff to allow me to fish your waters. And they'd be like, okay, and they had to like make a treaty with them. And they were
like, that big guy Mike over there on the boat, we want to trade for him.
Yeah, they want to eat.
He'll feed the whole population here.
Yeah, that's right. They'll have leftovers.
Like Thanksgiving.
And what he was telling me was that they don't know exactly where the boundaries are, where the next tribe picks up, and there's where the what I mean. So they were fishing, and they ended up going outside the area where they made a treaty with the tribe that they originally spoke with, and they said the guys came running out, or the whole squad came running out, and they're like throwing spears at the boat and like shooting rocks and shit and like slinging stuff at them, and it goes like bananas. Like they had to get out of there. Like, yeah, I guess pretty wild stuff. Like, so you can't like
King
just
Kong
like
comes out.
You can't just wander in there, and that's what. And that to me is why I feel like it's more likely than not that there are some extant populations on the island of New Guinea, just because of like it's a logistical nightmare to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
And two, you have to, deal with these warring tribes that, aren't going to think twice. But there's a lot of stories.
And they're like,
yeah. I mean, because there's a lot of stories that have come out of there of, striped dogs and, basically people describing a thylacine to a T that wouldn't know what a thylacine was or looked like.
Yeah.
So yeah, my money is on there, because there's definitely a lot of parts of New Guinea that the dingoes wouldn't have been able to get to that the thylacines could have. So that's kind of where
that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, like they're discovering new species of animals in the Amazon.
Oh yeah, I mean it's every day something's new.
And animals, other species they thought was extinct they're discovering are coming back to life. Like even like the American alligator was almost near extinction, and now we got a lot of them all over the place. But I mean, we were protecting them. But yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
You know what always gets me thinking. Anytime I'm thinking about like megalodons, like. I'm like, dude, why couldn't one of those SOBs still be hanging out somewhere? I mean, fishermen fish their whole lives sometimes for like, and never catch a marlin, you know what I mean? Or something, let alone, if there's like a very small amount of these giant sharks that are still to be around,
We don't know what's in the oceans. I mean, there could be all kinds of things down there that we've never seen and don't even know about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean
UFOs.
There's parts of the world where there is a large megafauna that hardly gets seen. So, like, who is to say that in some of these places there aren't smaller, wilder things?
Didn't they think that the giant squid was a myth, and recently they discovered one?
Well, yeah, they had proof that it exists.
They'd only ever seen dead ones, and then
I
think it was Monster Quest that was the first ever to get one on camera.
One of my favorite shows. Yep. But they also had like
Doug Hychek, the guy that created that's a friend of mine.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he lives here in Minnesota.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, it was great show, man. They actually did an episode on ghost hunting.
I remember that one.
And it was like funny because I think the footage was like even older than the episode. I think they might have shot it for something else because the guys all came in with like VCR style camcorders, and it was funny though. But one of the coolest things that they did was they took an EVP and they sent it off to an FBI voice analysis and didn't tell him what it was and asked him to analyze this, and then he said it sounds like a human voice with no vocal cords. And I thought that was really, really cool. Very, very cool stuff. But
we need a device like that, Mike.
Like what? Oh yeah. You can break out your old high 8.
There you go.
No, I would love to. If anybody ever one day hears this and happens to know somebody that is a speech or voice analyst, look me up because I would definitely like to chat.
We got hours and hours of EVPs you're gonna have to review though.
Yeah. Well, just even that one that we captured that one time at the Broward's Women's Correctional Facility, that's just anybody that says they can't hear or tell what that says. I mean, that's just wildness.
Oh, I think Chanel read my mind. She goes, any thoughts or stories on mermaids? And Chanel, we do have mermaids here in South Florida. The manatees, at least the Spanish back then thought the manatees were mermaids.
Yes, I do have some stories on mermaids.
Oh, cool.
It's actually how the funny or not, that's how the show initially got going. This because I was watching a TV show about mermaids, and then we're like, let's go look for them. So so little backstory on the inception of Chasing Legends. So years ago, Animal Planet used to do this thing once a year called Monster Week.
Mm-hmm. And they did that mockumentary, and
they did two of them. They did two of them, and because the first one did so well,
Nash, you're going to be on the next one.
People believed.
They had me, them sons of bastards.
And then they put out a second one, which I was watching at the time, and I was texting with my friend Caitlin Keeley, who co-created the show. And I was telling her about a case that I had remembered from an old Destination Truth episode, which was off the coast of Kiryat Yam, Israel. There was reports of a mermaid, and they were offering a $1 million reward for indisputable proof that it existed out there. Obviously, this was very much a tourism thing, but we're like, oh, we should, go there and shoot a documentary of us looking for this, and just, if we find anything, great. If not, we got a cool strip out of it. And well, then that from there it transitioned into, well, let's just make a show. Let's just go after everything. So that's kind of how the show was formed. But there's another story that I've actually been told recently. There's a guy I know. He's an older guy from Alberta, and he winters down in Yuma, Arizona, where my grandma does. So I see him every time I go down there. And I was down there a few weeks ago chatting with him, and he's like, I don't know if I've told you this story, but when I was up, and he used to live with the Eskimos. They used to teach English to the Eskimos. So he's, been in some pretty rough and rugged places. Mm-hmm. And he told me this story that he's like, I don't know if I told you this story,
Alaskan
but
Triangle.
He told me that somewhere I don't remember if he told me the exact spot, but he's like, these three guys came and told me this story. They were very well-known, prominent in the community. There's no way they would make this up. There's no way that they would even know anything about mermaids to make this up, but they described seeing mermaids sitting on a rock, out in the ocean. They heard singing, all this stuff. And it's always interesting for me when I get stories from parts of the world that wouldn't know to make this up. It kind of validates things, a little bit. Obviously, I'm not saying mermaids are real, because they would be horrifying looking if they were, because biology. Yeah. They wouldn't be. That's why I always love the biologically accurate Ariel from Little Mermaid, and it's just horrifying. But
I want a hot mermaid. Damn it!
No, what was that? What was that movie? Cabin in the Woods.
They had the one in there. Yep,
they had the merman.
Yep. But so that's a mermaid story. I think I've gotten a handful of other ones over the years, but that's the one that really sticks out to me, because it's basically one, up in the Arctic, which you wouldn't expect, right. And two, it's been told by people that wouldn't know to make these things up.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting, right? And some of these legends and stuff that have just been also passed down from generations and things. Where did they come up with? Is somebody just friggin' drinking too much grog on the ship, and then they start telling stories, and then it turns into where did this shit come
mushrooms,
from? Or did they really see something that they?
I know the common consensus always was that these mermaid stories were just basically the Spanish and French sailors that saw mermaids when they came to the Gulf of Mexico. But it's like, okay, but you have stories from other parts of the world that don't have manatees.
Yeah.
I said mermaids, I meant manatees, but
I know what you're saying.
So it's like, what, are they just, were all of these other stories elsewhere in the world? Did they come after? And it's just, oh, I saw something, I didn't know what it was in the water. It must be a mermaid, and it just became like a mass hysteria or kind of a thing.
Here's another thing that I always wonder about. Right? Maybe some of these things were discovered, and they hide it because they don't want to go and rewrite all the history books, and mainstream science doesn't want to admit that they were wrong.
So that's an issue. That's an issue that's being faced with archaeology currently.
Yeah, what's the
Big
name of the
time.
archaeologist? The English guy.
Graham Hancock.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's been discovering places that's been around. Well, places
That
where
we don't have the time to go down that rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, this will be a 4-hour show right here, but yeah, I mean,
but yeah, but I mean, it also could be, in some of these, land-based sightings of things, do some of these stories go back, this is kind of where my kind of current mindset of like the, extinct animal stuff is like, are current stories passed down stories from ancestors that used to live with, Ice Age megafauna, and it's just survived,
Yeah.
Because it's like, I look at, going back to the Mapinguari, I look at the descriptions of it, and then I look at an animal that we know existed in the Amazon, which was the Megatherium, or the giant ground sloth. And I go, okay, I see immediate parallels that this could be what is being described. Whether or not it still exists or not is totally up for debate. But there's a lot of stories that people see these big, obviously they'd be a little smaller now than the elephant size that they were 10,000 years ago, but it'd still be a big ass sloth moving through the jungle.
Yeah. And that could also be misidentified too, right? Like some kind of big thing like that. You don't know what the hell you just saw, right? Some hairy shit moving around in the back.
Yeah, for sure. Everything on the Amazon's trying to kill you. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
But it's like there's
shit
out there
in the Amazon that is not a cryptid that is a cryptid. You know what I mean?
When I hear stories of people that, from like indigenous people that live in the Amazon, that it's like, yeah, we don't go in this section of in the jungle, and it's like, why? And it's like, you just don't go there. It's like,
you'll get your ass torn up.
What did you encounter, dude?
I know.
Like, is it the uncontacted that you're afraid of, or is there something else out there that you can't?
And it's sort of sad. It's like they're destroying the Amazon, but as they're destroying it, they're finding new discoveries on things. I don't know, like who knows what could show up.
Yeah, but that was all like, and it's funny because it was like, that was all described. Like, there was always stories of large populations in the Amazon.
Yeah.
But then once Europeans went back in to look for them, they couldn't find them because the jungle had just eaten them.
Yeah, it had over. And you know what's screwed up is that whole story and the way that happened. The explorers landed in Brazil. They went out to the Amazon. They're like you said, they found flourishing populations with rivers and whole like systems and just a massive structures. And then he goes back to England and they say, hey, listen, we found this. They never get back there. They go back 100 years later. It's all gone, like you said. And they're like, yeah, this guy was full of shit. And actually the explorers that came there the first time brought a disease that killed everybody off. And then the jungle swallowed up the whole, all the structures, and you couldn't see anything. And now with LiDAR technology, they're flying over with LiDAR.
But it's sad though with that is that it took them slash and burning the Amazon and finding these sites for people to finally go, oh yeah, we should be doing LiDAR surveys of the Amazon. People have been right. There are things to find here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what's wild is that they're finding sites that predate the Bering Land Bridge. So it's like, how did people get there? So it's almost looking like South America was populated first, and then they migrated up.
I just saw a little clip somewhere on one of my news feeds that that they're finding stuff that it might be possible that all human life didn't come from Africa, like that it might have came from a different continent. It's kind of lining up to what you're talking about now.
Mm-hmm. Well, they found evidence of Vikings in Florida, like Cape Canaveral. They're saying that they humans also traveled from Europe and through Greenland, and
I think they found evidence of Aztecs in Florida too.
Oh,
yeah,
we do have
and
that.
I think we actually, we were just talking about that earlier before.
Don't get Mike started.
No, that we
no, we got a place.
No, that we were talking earlier before we started the show and behind, backstage, and we have a episode that we filmed for a Halloween special a couple years ago in Lake Okeechobee, right? And in the 30s, when people were like starting to populate that area, there was a big drought, and they found so many human skulls in Lake Okeechobee that they looked like a pumpkin patch. There's thousands and thousands of skulls and human body remains,
elongated skulls.
They found elongated skulls. The only place that they, other than Peru, that had the exact same kind of elongations and techniques done, and they cannot date these remains. They don't know how far they go back, and it lines up with like they say that they don't know where they're from or who they are, but I highly believe that they're Aztec.
And Mike, just a few miles west of Lake Okeechobee is what? Where we filmed Spirits of the South.
Correct. And that was
it dates back 250 AD.
The serpent mounds that they found,
and a half moon mound, and several other mounds. Like how odd in Florida, right? But people say that the Mayans, Aztecs. I mean, I don't know if they went up to North America or maybe from North America they went south, but it's pretty wild.
They definitely could have made it here. I mean, no problem, right? From Mexico to here, it's like that's like a very easy to do.
Yeah, I gotta get into compliance mode real quick, and I have to let our KGRA digital broadcasting listeners who are listening on the radio, you'll be moving on to the next show, and to our folks that are listening or maybe watching us on Facebook or through our YouTube, check out KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. They have amazing other shows. Nash, they got a bunch of shows on cryptids, Bigfoot, UFOs, spiritualism, the paranormal. Check, and you can listen to us on iHeartRadio. So if you get stuck in traffic, you can listen to us. And also, our listeners on KGRA, check out our YouTube page, War Party Paranormal YouTube. Check that out. Subscribe and like. And I think I'm done. I'm done with that compliance message.
Good job, buddy.
I try my best. It's all about the wording. So. Yep, I got clear on the radio side, so we're good. Now you can drop F-bombs and say all kinds of crazy shit right now.
So I mean, what was how about this? What was one of your favorite episodes that you shot so far? If you had to tell one person, hey man, you gotta watch this. This was nuts.
Every single one of them, damn it.
It would be the Ruger episode that airs this Saturday at 9 p.m.
There you go. That's the way to do it. That's what I'm talking about.
A weekend doubleheader.
This Saturday night, 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
The season finale.
Can you tell us any tidbits about that? Without spoiling anything?
So we go after, it's called the Rougarou. It's like a Cajun werewolf legend from Louisiana. And we go out in the bayou, and I almost die, but fun time.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't, so you can make it here for this show.
Well, we're gonna have to bring you down to another swamp down here.
I'm game. I'm so
South
game.
Florida. We'll definitely set that up. You hear that, Natalie?
Itching to go.
So
I feel bad for my team a lot of the times because I'm more than happy to go into the dangerous spots, and they're just like, I don't want to go in there. It's like, well, someone's got to film me in here. So
yeah, exactly right.
Don't worry, we got your back. We'll film you in any dangerous location.
Yeah, Eric's all about it.
I'll just have to wear my snake boots. You do have to get snake boots, by the way.
Yeah.
So you guys went to Louisiana, and you were out in the bayous at night looking for a I can't pronounce the name. Can you say it one more time?
The Rougarou.
Rougarou. Yeah, and so that's something that's still getting reported that's out there today.
Not really. That was kind of one that we did more based on where it was kind of reported, because we're just like, oh, we need to, we had an episode in the mountains and we had an episode on the water, and then we had an episode out east and in kind of the woods. So it's like, well, we need a different kind of terrain. So we're like, oh, this is a cool story. And it's kind of interesting because like Louisiana doesn't have like a native wolf species, so it's like, what the hell are these people seeing? And so so it was that was kind of, and it was just a really cool story. So that was kind of the inspiration of that one. But yeah, that's probably our better looking of the 4 episodes, and that was just because like at that point that was like the last one we shot, and we had everything figured out and dialed in like on the production side. So
it's all about the cinematography.
Yeah, and then I think with that one too, we had an extra day than we did on the other ones, so that we were able to kind of, we weren't so like rushed, and we could actually kind of take our time and make everything look nice. And it was a good time. We filmed on Bourbon Street. We didn't go on an airboat, but we did go out on a boat.
We can hook that up down here, though.
Down.
Let's do it.
You guys don't have to convince me. I'm in. Just
all right. Okay.
Just say when. Don't...
All right. Awesome. You heard that, Mike?
That's right. I heard it.
Okay. I'll make a purchase on some snake boots. Oh, and Natalie, you better get yours too.
I'll come on your show. You come on mine.
Awesome.
That's
there
right.
You go.
So, no, very, very cool, man. I like it. I like what you're doing. It's super interesting, and yet, I'm sure you get to learn a lot of these legends and a lot of the history behind some of this stuff, and that's super interesting as well. And and seeing you get out there and get in there and go after it is definitely entertaining and awesome. And I really like what you're doing. And
he's not afraid of mosquitoes, Mike.
Well, yeah,
I live in Minnesota. That's like our entire summers. It's just mosquitoes. So,
so awesome, man. Good work. And we're getting a little bit to that point of the show where why don't you let some of our listeners and some of the people out there that are joined in on this chat, let people know where they could find you if they want to follow you on social media, they want to see what's coming up and what's going on and things of that nature, and let people know where they can see other content and find more information about you.
Any events coming up, things like that.
Yeah. So chasinglegendscrew.com is the website. It's kind of like a one-stop shop. Otherwise, at Chasing Legends Official is our socials, both. Actually, I think it's everything: Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can find me at Nash Hoover on Instagram. Yeah, that's really it. Events, I don't really do any events. There's one that I'm on the kind of planning committee of, which is the Van Meter Visitor Festival, which is in Iowa at the end of September.
Okay, very cool.
So guys, you hear that, man? Make sure you guys go out there and follow them. Some really interesting stuff. Go out there and check it out and show some support. Make sure you subscribe to Paraflix so you can check us all out. And for me, if you want to check out my personal paranormal social media accounts and things of that nature, the easiest way is to go to FLA-paranormalresearcher.com, and that links out to all the other stuff, and it also links to the Haunted Files website and Paraflix and all that fun stuff, and the War Party Paranormal website as well. And I'll let Eric tell you a little bit more about that.
I ain't got much. I got Ghost Hunters South Florida. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Check out warpartyparanormal.com. Also subscribe to our YouTube, War Party Paranormal. And also, we're not for profit. We help people who have problems with the paranormal. If you're local or anywhere in Florida, please reach out to us. We're here to help you, and you're a client for life, so you never go away. We're always there to help you. We don't charge a dime, and also
they actually pay you.
And actually, we got an event coming up, Booze of the Battleship in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's April 26th. I think I got that right. Saturday.
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, we're going to be looking for ghosts and drinking at the same time, and
great
possibly
combo.
doing
What can go wrong?
investigation. I know, exactly. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. There's going to be a lot of big names there, so check it out. I think we might be doing like a VIP investigation. I don't know, but yeah, check it out. They're on Facebook, and that's about it.
All right, perfect. Keep it spooky, folks, and we will see you next Monday. Bye. And thanks again, Nash, for coming. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Nash.
thanks for having me, guys.